TIL non-volatile memory on board the Apollo spacecraft were made by manually weaving copper wires between magnetic cores, bit by bit. Software had to be perfect because any revisions to code were impossible. It's notable however that you can force changes to behavior of read-only code by overwriting data in RAM at runtime, which is what they did during Apollo 14 when a short in the control panel of the LIM almost prevented it from landing. This is also why the term core dump comes from. Originally from the core RAM where you would get the contents of all of the data. Fun note, reading core RAM is destructive since you get the value by flipping the magnetic field of the core and reading it. So when you read memory the first thing you have to do right after is write it again. Actually, it's not only Apollo's read-only memory, it was a common technology used in computers of that era. Another fun part in Russian language even to this day process of flashing the firmware into a device is called sewing in, exactly from that process of sewing together core rope memory banks back in the days. My wife's dad worked for IBM Federal Systems Division in Endicott, New York. Her summer job was working there making memory cores like this for Gemini Apollo. She worked in clean rooms building these under a microscope. Once at the Smithsonian Aerospace Museum she was looking at a display about Gemini, and saw a core that she made. This looks similar to core memory, the precursor to RAM, but it sounds like you're saying they use this as ROM? It's amazing, this era of technology. I love how mechanical it is, you can see how it works. The software was updated several times, though. Example: Apollo 10 flew Luminary Revo 69.2 and Apollo 11 flew Revo 99.1. The final version was Rev 210. See? Holy shit, I've read this blog before. He has a great breakdown of the two microprocessors on the DX7 synthesizer, the first commercially successful digital synthesis. Guy's a genius. This was called the LOL method, the little old lady method of hardcoding P. X200B. I'm not kidding, though I can't cite my source. When we went to the moon, the documentary, and just the act of reading a bit, the polarization of the magnetic ring would destroy the data it held. So when you read a bit you also had to immediately write it back. Did the wires not need to be insulated from one another? That looks like bare wires touching thousands of other bare wires. How does it not jump when they touch? Smarter Everyday has a cool video here where he meets one of the people that helped make it, who has some cool information on it. There's nobody still working who can do that anymore. We would have to train people from scratch, and it's doubtful anybody would be willing. I can see a NASA programmer reading the subreddit for programmers and laughing with a back on my day. We had to have flawless software. When I was in the Navy in the 70s we had a gunfire control computer that used hardwired memory. Delicate. Very delicate. Cool. I've seen some rope memory used in modules from the Apollo missions, on, I think, Tech Tangents on YouTube, and every single line of code was manually debugged. This software is safer than any of the software out now. Also, we landed on the moon before the first commercial microprocessor was invented. Now that is terrifying. Programming in the physical world sounds so tedious and painstaking, but these guys managed to pull it off. Wow! The Burroughs D84MI service used core memory, but this is a direction I was not familiar with. This is not a ROM, it is static RAM. Volatile RAM is DRAM. I just hope I do not mistake. I had a chance to see this in person at the Space Center in Huntsville. Very cool place. That's called a tormat. It's how jukeboxes remember what selections you make. So, basically, we went to the moon in a very intricately woven basket. Mind blown. Can NASA hook me up with some non-volatile memories, please? Because of solar radiation interfering with data storage, my sister's Magnavox 286 had onboard magnetic memory. Down the rabbit hole it is. Fascinating stuff.